2 weeks after Kathleen died in 2014, Stanley made a new will that cut Diane out completely, despite having written her a note promising her the bungalow. Case review. Baker and Houston from 2024. I'll tell you a story, set out the law, and see why this critical case matters. The story, the people, and the facts. This is a case about a man called Stanley who died in 2020. He was aged 91. Stanley had a complicated personal life. He was married to Agnes, and they had 3 children, Ronald, Martin, and Jennifer. In the 1980s, he separated and moved in with a woman called Kathleen, who had a daughter called Diane. A classic blended family situation. He lived with Kathleen until she died in 2014. Between 2009 and 2020, Stanley made 6 wills, constantly changing who got what. He chopped and changed between his children, sometimes including Martin, sometimes cutting him out entirely. In 2010, he and Kathleen made wills leaving half of their bungalow to Diane. Just 2 weeks after Kathleen died in 2014, Stanley made a new will that cut Diane out completely, despite having written her a note promising her the bungalow. His final will was made in May 2020 during COVID lockdown. He signed it through a car window, left everything to Jennifer and Ronald and to his grandchildren, and he excluded Martin and Diane. The critical background fact is that in 2009, Stanley had been sectioned under the Mental Health Act, and he'd been diagnosed with Pick's disease, which is a form of dementia. After his death, Diane challenged the later wills, arguing that Stanley's constant will changing was evidence that his dementia meant he lacked the testamentary capacity to make a valid will. And if she succeeded, the 2010 will, the one leaving half of the bungalow, would stand. The law. The 2 separate legal frameworks for assessing testamentary capacity, meaning the mental ability to make a valid will, were at the heart of this case. First, the common law test from Banks and Goodfellow, which is from 1870, over 150 years old. This one says that a testator must, 1, understand what the will is and what it does. 2, they've got to understand the extent of their property in general terms. 3, understand who has a claim on the estate, who they might include or exclude. And 4, they must not be suffering from a mental disorder or delusions that distort their decision making. The second framework is the Mental Capacity Act 2005, the MCA. This is the modern statute used by the Court of Protection. Under sections 2 and 3, a person lacks capacity if an impairment of the mind makes them unable to understand, retain, or weigh relevant information, or communicate their decision to others. The MCA also includes a presumption of capacity and says that making an unwise or unkind decision does not mean someone lacks capacity. The big unresolved question was, do these 2 tests conflict? The disagreement had been causing uncertainty for lawyers for years. Applying the law and the outcome, the judge found that Stanley had testamentary capacity for every will from 2010 onwards, despite the dementia diagnosis. The evidence showed that Stanley was lucid, he gave rational explanations for his choices, and he made deliberate, if sometimes harsh, decisions. As the judge memorably put it, Stanley's will changes had more to do with his caprice than his capacity. Making unkind or even callous decisions does not mean you lack capacity. On the crucial legal question, the MCA versus Banks and Goodfellow, the judge proposed a compromise. The judge's practical recommendation is to use the MCA as a cross-check alongside the Banks and Goodfellow test. This avoids the absurd result where a person might have capacity under one test, but not the other. It brings coherence to the law whilst respecting that common law still has primacy in probate. This case actually settled mid-trial. Diane accepted a payment, but the judge delivered this judgment specifically to clarify this important point of law for future cases. We cover real cases like this regularly. If this made you think about your own plans, you can get started through the link in our bio.